Yeah, I think these definitely, them rumors about Quincy Jones and all that crazy stuff about Pop was definitely rumors.
In the 1990s, Tupac Shakur was one of the most polarizing figures in the world of hip-hop, a man whose impact transcended music and culture. Known for his lyrical genius, controversial lifestyle, and rebellious spirit, Tupac captured the world's attention. But few know about the quieter side of Tupac's life, a romance that bloomed amidst the fame and chaos. That romance was with Kidada Jones, a model and actress who happened to be the daughter of legendary music producer Quincy Jones. What made their love even more intriguing was the relationship between Tupac and Quincy. Their dynamic was initially fraught with tension and misunderstandings, stemming from differences in background, values, and even a public clash that nearly prevented Tupac and Kidada's romance. The connection between Tupac, Kidada, and Quincy was a tangled web of respect, conflict, and redemption. In the end, it's a story of how love can bridge even the deepest divides and how relationships can be more complicated than what's seen on the surface. Tupac and Kidada's paths crossed in 1996, a year that would prove to be pivotal in Tupac's life. Kidada, who was then working as a model and actress, had grown up in the limelight as the daughter of Quincy Jones and actress Peggy Lipton. Her bringing was steeped in Hollywood culture, surrounded by artists, musicians, and icons who shaped her worldview. She was known for her free spirit, her sense of style, and her deep loyalty to her family, qualities that immediately attracted Tupac when they met. Their first encounter, however, wasn't romantic. In fact, it began on a controversial note. In 1993, Tupac had publicly criticized Quincy Jones for being in interracial relationships, specifically with Kidada's mother, Peggy Lipton. In an interview, Tupac expressed disappointment that Quincy, a black man, had married a white woman, accusing him of turning his back on his race. This comment struck a nerve with Kidada, who was deeply protective of her father and his legacy. Her initial impression of Tupac was clouded by his words, and the possibility of a relationship seemed far-fetched. But fate had other plans. In a turn of events that neither could have anticipated, Tupac and Kidada met again by chance and found themselves drawn to each other. Despite his earlier remarks, Tupac apologized to Kidada for his comments about her father, admitting that he had spoken out of frustration and misunderstanding. This gesture of humility opened the door to a deeper connection. Kidada was moved by Tupac's willingness to apologize, and as they spent more time together, she saw a side of him that few others did. A vulnerable, introspective artist with a passion for justice and a complex sense of identity. Their bond grew quickly, fueled by mutual respect, shared values, and a chemistry that was undeniable. While Tupac and Kidada's connection was blossoming, the tension between Tupac and Quincy lingered. Quincy was a towering figure in the music industry, known for his contributions to jazz, pop, and R&B, having produced for icons like Michael Jackson, Aretha Franklin, and Frank Sinatra. Quincy represented an older generation of musicians who navigated fame and success differently than Tupac's generation of hip-hop artists. To Quincy, Tupac was part of a new raw movement, one that he viewed with a mix of admiration and caution. He understood the power of Tupac's music, but struggled with his daughter dating someone who lived in a world far removed from the polished Hollywood image Quincy had cultivated. Kidada's choice to be with Tupac sparked concern, as Quincy questioned how Tupac's volatile life might impact his daughter. However, as Kidada defended her relationship, Quincy began to see the depth of her feelings. For Tupac, dating Kidada wasn't just about being with someone he loved. It was also about breaking down barriers. He respected Quincy's achievements, but wanted to prove that he was more than his public image suggested. Tupac understood the importance of Kidada's relationship with her father, and although their bond had a rocky start, he was determined to make peace with Quincy for her sake. This tension between Tupac's desire to earn Quincy's respect and Quincy's initial reservations about Tupac formed the heart of their complicated relationship. For Tupac, who was often caught in the whirlwind of fame, controversies, and legal battles, Kidada became a stabilizing presence in his life. She offered him a sense of peace and normalcy that he struggled to find elsewhere. As his fame grew, Tupac felt increasingly isolated, facing legal issues, violent altercations, and the pressures of a rapidly intensifying East Coast-West Coast rap feud. Kidada proved a refuge from this chaos, grounding him with her unwavering support and calming energy. Their relationship was filled with quiet moments and mutual understanding, something that was rare for Tupac. Friends of the couple described Kidada as someone who didn't just love Tupac, but also understood him deeply. She saw beyond his image as a defiant, larger-than-life rapper, recognizing his sensitive side, his insecurities, and his desire to be understood. Kidada's loyalty and compassion allowed Tupac to open up in ways he hadn't before, showing a more vulnerable side that few people witnessed. Kidada's calming influence wasn't just a support for Tupac. It also strengthened his resolve to create change and become a better person. In many ways, she inspired him to think about a future beyond the turbulent world of hip-hop, sparking a desire for stability and peace that he hadn't prioritized before. Despite the challenges they faced, Kidada's presence in Tupac's life marked a significant turning point, one that gave him hope even amid the storm of fame and controversy. As Tupac and Kidada's relationship progressed, their bond grew stronger. Despite the intense scrutiny they faced from both the media and their personal circles, Tupac and Kidada managed to find solace in each other. For Tupac, who had become weary of the superficiality and betrayals he experienced in the industry, Kidada represented authenticity and stability. She grounded him, providing a safe space where he could be himself without the pressure to perform or live up to his public image. For Kidada, Tupac was more than just the rebel rapper the world saw. He was a poetic soul, a man with a fierce sense of justice, and a vulnerability he rarely showed others. As their love deepened, Tupac and Kidada began discussing a future together. They talked about moving away from the chaotic life in Los Angeles and even starting a family. Kidada envisioned a life with Tupac where he could finally escape the demands of fame and live in peace. Friends of the couple noted that Tupac seemed genuinely happier and more hopeful for the future with Kidada by his side. But while their plans for a new life were filled with optimism, the turbulent world of hip-hop and the ever-intensifying East Coast-West Coast feud constantly loomed over them. While Tupac was growing closer to Kidada, the rivalry between the East Coast and West Coast hip-hop scenes was escalating at a dangerous pace. Tupac had become embroiled in a bitter feud with the notorious B.I.G. and other East Coast rappers, which only intensified following a shooting at Quad Studios in 1994. Tupac believed he had been set up by people in Biggie's circle, and the betrayal he felt would shape his music and his relationships for years. At the same time, Tupac's affiliation with Suge Knight and Death Row Records further complicated his life. Suge's presence brought with it a level of volatility and aggression that added fuel to the feud, pulling Tupac into a darker, more hostile world. Kidada, though supportive, grew increasingly concerned about the impact of these associations on Tupac's well-being. She tried to be a voice of reason, urging him to consider stepping away from the confrontations and focus on building a more positive future. But Tupac's loyalty to his crew and his determination to maintain his street credibility made it difficult for him to fully heed her advice. Tupac's personal battles extended beyond his public feuds. He was involved in a series of legal issues, including a prison sentence in 1995 after a sexual assault conviction, which he strongly contested. These struggles wore heavily on Tupac, affecting his mental health and increasing his sense of isolation. Through it all, Kidada remained steadfast by his side, her loyalty never wavering, even as the pressures around them intensified. The two were inseparable, and Kidada's support became one of the few constants Tupac could rely on. Over time, Quincy Jones began to see Tupac through Kidada's eyes, softening his stance and coming to accept the relationship. He observed the positive influence Kidada had on Tupac and recognized that Tupac genuinely cared for his daughter. While Quincy's initial concerns remained, he respected Kidada's choice and could see that Tupac's feelings were sincere. Quincy valued family above all else, and his willingness to set aside his reservations for Kidada's happiness marked a turning point in his relationship with Tupac. Quincy's acceptance of Tupac was a significant gesture, especially given their earlier clash. Tupac, who was accustomed to dealing with hostility and misunderstanding, appreciated Quincy's change of heart and respected his status as a music legend. Tupac and Quincy's interactions were far from perfect, but they developed a mutual respect over time. This reconciliation meant the world to Kidada, who cherished the harmony between her father and the man she loved. On September 7, 1996, Tragedy struck when Tupac was shot multiple times in a drive-by shooting in Las Vegas after attending a Mike Tyson fight. Kidada was with Tupac in Las Vegas that night and had been staying with him in their hotel room. Moments before the shooting, Tupac had left their room to meet with Suge Knight and others from Death Row. Kidada had a sense of unease but didn't want to interfere with Tupac's plans for the night, unaware of the impending tragedy. When the news of the shooting broke, Kidada was devastated, rushing to the hospital to be by Tupac's side. She remained with him for the next 6 days as he lay in critical condition, holding on to hope that he would recover. Kidada's presence at the hospital was a testament to her unwavering love and loyalty. She was there through his final moments, standing vigil and refusing to leave his side. Tupac succumbed to his injuries on September 13, 1996, leaving Kidada heartbroken and Quincy devastated. The loss was deeply personal for Kidada, who had envisioned a future with Tupac, only to have it taken away so abruptly. For Quincy, the pain was twofold. He had come to respect Tupac as an artist and as his daughter's love, only to lose him in such a senseless act of violence. In the aftermath of Tupac's death, Kidada struggled to cope with the loss, retreating from the public eye to grieve privately. She later described Tupac as the love of her life, saying that his death left an infillable void. Her heartbreak was profound, and it would take her years to come to terms with the tragedy. Kidada eventually returned to her career, but Tupac's memory remained a constant presence in her life, shaping her understanding of love, loss, and resilience. Quincy, too, was deeply affected by Tupac's passing. While he had initially been wary of Tupac's relationship with Kidada, he mourned the potential he saw in Tupac as an artist and as a man. Quincy came to appreciate Tupac's influence on the world of music, recognizing that despite their differences, Tupac had a vision and talent that were undeniable. In the years following Tupac's death, Quincy has spoken publicly about the impact Tupac had on hip-hop and Kidada, acknowledging that his daughter's love for Tupac changed their family forever. The love story between Tupac Shakur and Kidada Jones remains one of the most poignant romances in the history of hip-hop. It was a relationship that defied expectations, bringing together two people from vastly different worlds. Their love showed a side of Tupac that few people knew, a man capable of deep love, vulnerability, and dreams of a peaceful life away from the spotlight. Kidada's loyalty and compassion revealed a more tender, hopeful side of Tupac, reminding the world that he was more than his public persona. For Kidada, Tupac was a once-in-a-lifetime love, and the legacy of their relationship lives on in her memories and the impact he had on her life. Their story is a reminder of the fragility of life and the power of love to transcend fame, conflict, and tragedy. Even after his passing, Tupac's legacy endures through his music, his words, and the people who loved him, including Kidada and Quincy. Tupac Shakur and Kidada Jones's love story is remembered not only for its beauty, but for its resilience. They found love in an industry that often breeds isolation and conflict. And despite the pressure surrounding them, they cherished their time together. Though brief, their relationship showed that love can bring peace, even amid chaos, and leave a lasting legacy that transcends time. Tupac's memory lives on in Kidada's heart and in the legacy he left behind, a reminder of the love, dreams, and potential cut short but never forgotten.